So, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Rohit Soni Leadership Podcast. And on episode number 82, I have invited someone who's a personal brand architect, who is someone who actually, does a lot of stuff in her life and, a lot of things with sports and modeling as well. Okay. So, I would like to, welcome to you all Rachel Maeng. Okay. So, hi Rachel. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm coming from New York City in the US, so a big time difference. But I love being able to come across the world.
Okay, okay, that's great. That's great, ma'am. And the more important thing is that you have given us time here. So what we would like to do is that in the least amount of time, we want to have the most value, right? Is that cool?
Of course.
Okay, okay, ma'am. So, ma'am, please tell us about yourself, why you are doing what you are doing, and everything.
Yeah, of course. So again, my name's Rachel Maeng. You can find me on Instagram, same exact name. But I'm the personal brand architect. So really what I do is partnership and talent management and consulting. I help people use their story and their life to build up their personal brand. And then from there, I help them use it to leverage partnership deals, whether that be an individual on social media or a professional athlete work with a brand and come to an agreement with a contract, put out different pictures, videos, whatever that might look like. And for some people, that might be a nonprofit. So that's what I do full time, along with working with a number of other companies in partnerships, relationship management, and things like that.
That's great, ma'am. And why you are doing this? Like, that's the main thing. Like, people do start something, they must have a vision. So please tell me why you are doing, personal branding and helping people grow.
Yeah, so I believe for myself, especially, everything you do in life relates to something later in life. So everything you've done in the past is going to lead you to something greater in the future. And I really think that that story is so important because everything I've done and everything someone else has done, someone else is going to go through. So your story can really help those people get through whatever they're going through. And on top of that, because a lot of people have already gone through that or it resonates with them, it helps brands. So it helps companies connect to their audience and it helps companies grow the relationship with their audience. And I think that there's also a lot of athletes here in the US and just individuals in general who don't really get to capitalize on that and they don't really get to be able to make the connections with their audience. So I wanted to be that person that can actually help them, number one, generate more revenue and more income for themselves, but number two, also help their audience and help other people in the process.
That's a great mission, ma'am. You're after, and the more important thing here is that you are helping other people as well. That is something that everyone should, consider here because you can grow all by yourself, but until unless you help other people, you don't get that satisfaction. Yes, I have, did something good. Okay, so that is really, really an important insight that you have given us. Okay, ma'am. So this takes us to the first question that I want to know from you. The first question is, why do you think there's a big need for any business to grow their personal brand in 2021? Why do you think there's a big need for any business to grow their personal brand in 2021? What's your take on that?
Yeah, so I think any business, any person, any athlete, even if like you're a cricket athlete, I think that there's such a space to grow, specifically in your personal brand, because your personal brand is really who you are. So for a person, it's literally who you are, how you present. For a business, it's what the company mission is, like it's how you present yourself in marketing. So I think in a world where we're driven by technology, we're all on social media and there's a lot of things that are fake out there. I think authenticity is really important, and being consistent with who you are. So when it comes to business or personal brands for athletes, for influencers, whatever it is, it's really important now to be authentic and just show your personal brand and to let people know who you are, what's important to you, because that's how you build relationships. You can't build a relationship with something fake. You have to build a relationship with something real. So when it comes to growing your business, whether you're a person, an athlete, or a business, it's really about putting yourself forward and really marketing yourself.
Okay, that's great, ma'am. That's the great insight that you have given us. I want to know, like, if someone who is currently starting their, personal brand right this moment, and they're starting their online business right this moment, right this second, what advice would you give to them, so that in 6 to 12 months they can start monetizing it and start making some amount of money initially? Because in this COVID situation, many people have suffered losses of jobs and everything. So what's your advice on that?
Yeah, so I think it doesn't even take those 6 to 12 months. Really, social media is king right now. It really is about, making your account, what your website, whatever you want to call it, using analytics, marketing. But the most important thing is to discover what your brand is and then who you are, how you come through your brand, and then making sure that your audience can resonate with that. They can connect. So if you're starting a business and it's on natural hair care, like telling that story about why natural hair care is important to you and why being natural is important, and then connecting yourself and your story to your audience, because really people buy from people they know. So if your audience feels like they can get to know you, then they're more likely to buy from you. The same thing when people do sales over the phone. If someone just cold calls you and asks you to buy something, you're probably not going to buy it. But if you've established a relationship with someone, they refer you to something, or you've been following their story online through social media, you're more likely to buy something they recommend. So if you're just starting out your brand, it's really important to be yourself and put out content that is about you and is authentic. And then from there, just continue to grow, start reaching your audience, being strategic about that. And then from there, once you start selling your product, it'll be easy.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So I have a follow-up question on the same thing. Is that if someone is starting their brand right this moment, what is a better approach? Build relations first in the DMs, or right away give a cold message that can establish authority? What do you think is better? Like just build relationship right away without even knowing them initially. You have to build relationship by texting some things, or is it like just cold DM them about your work, so that they understand who you are, and so that you can proceed the chat? What do you think is better? That's a big question that I have.
Yeah, so whether it's networking, building relationships with people, like in person with someone you maybe want to get a job with in the future, or even if it's on social media and you're trying to build a relationship with your audience, people like to know who they're talking to. So they want to build that relationship, because even if you're talking about an audience from a seller to a buyer, it's still a relationship. So you really have to build the relationship first. So what that might look like on social media and what it even looks like in networking is building that story, and getting them to know who you are. So when you have your page, you really want to be putting out content constantly and consistently, and then sending out your message to your audience through your content consistently as well. So really building up the page first before you do any type of like outreach, any type of recruiting. And that's simple as putting out a lot of content. Content, again, it's like authentic to your brand. So again, if it's natural hair care, putting out pictures of like natural hair, or putting out pictures of the product and things like that. And then from there, you start to not only build your content on your feed, so when people go to look at it, they know you're a legitimate business because you have quite a lot of pictures, you're active on that page. And then the content, you can use captions like, let me tell you a secret, or like, let me tell you a secret about this natural product, something like that, like a tagline. And that's how you kind of build your feed. That's how you build the engagement with
Actually,
your audience.
exactly. Like that actually works in personal branding and in copywriting as well. Like
Yeah,
if I write somewhere, don't read this, and then I
right.
write up my content there, so people will obviously read this. Okay. Like if you write here, the deadliest thing that you will ever know, people will automatically in their mind will always realize that this is something that I should read right away.
Yeah,
So if you
exactly.
offer resistance, it works a big way. And I have read this in the book called Influence. It's a really great book. I cannot highly recommend it to you. It's a really great book. You should read it right away, and for all our audience as well. So
Mhm.
yeah, the way you are saying that is absolutely correct, and I have seen it with my own eyes of people doing personal brands. They are offering advice on their own content, on the things they are expert at, and then they're getting clients through that because they're expert at the same niche. So that is a really great insight, ma'am.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for sharing it. Okay. So
yeah,
the
of
next
course.
thing, yeah, and the next thing that I want to know is that how online, as I know that you have already told me about, and I have saw your work of as a a partner deal. you can do that. You help people in getting partnership deals as well, right? So how do you think online partnership deals can be done strategically? I'm asking, how do you think that these can be done? Any advice you have? So please let us know.
Yeah, of course. So, really, partnership deals are deals between a talent and a business or another entity. So, in the US, that on a sports side, NFL is obviously our biggest sport over here, football. So, it might be between a football player and a sports drink company. That's a partnership that will probably look like them being paid X amount of money to put out a post. That might be them in the sports drink, and that's worth a certain amount of money. And then as far as, influencers go, it may be like a phone app and the same exact thing. So to actually do a partnership deal, you have to have a likeness that's worth something. So if you're an athlete, obviously your likeness, whether it's cricket, whether it's NFL, it may be you have a following that is large enough that a company wants to come to because they feel that it'll generate business for them, generate awareness. So really the first step is building up that likeness. And then from there, it's a question of like, do you outreach to them? Is your likeness strong enough where a company is going to come to you first? So after you build up the likeness, then you decide if you want to do any sort of outreach to the companies, asking them if you can work with them or if they're going to come to you. And then from there, it's a little bit legal about like the contracts and the money and things like that. But really, for people listening, I think the focus is building up your likeness and building up your presence online.
Okay, that's great. Like building up, like keep on giving us the keep on giving the right content. Keep on providing value, maximum value to your audience in a way that no one else is doing. You have to do it, in a way that no one else is doing. You have to keep this in mind, right? Is that right? You have to keep this
Exactly.
thing in mind. Then only we can deliver that type of content. Yes, our content can be same of all the people that are doing in the same industry, but we have to keep this thing in mind, right?
Exactly. And also, like, as you're keeping it in mind, you start to build your likeness. So you kind of build your popularity. And from there, your followers increase, your engagement increases. And that's what's really like able to monetize for a business. That's where like they can actually put money behind it.
Okay, that's great. So like if I'm doing an online partnership right now, okay, so suppose if I'm doing it, okay, so what do the steps should I take in that moment that I have to partner this person? So like should I research everything about him right away, or should I cold DM him right away? What should I do? That's actually the question of our audience. To be honest, I already know the
Oh,
answer.
it's up to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that you always want to do your research. Whether a company comes to you or you approach a company, you always want to know what the company is about, what they're selling, what business they're in, what industry. You always want to know those things and also know their audience. So when you look at like a hair care product, if it's a natural hair care product, it may be a specific type of audience, like the demographic may be female. Or if you're going for a shoe company, then the demographic is probably athletic and a little bit more interested in like the looks of something. So you want to know the audience before you work with the company, before you approach them, after they approach you. And then from there you can start that conversation, because also when it comes to partnerships, you as the talent are most likely going to create content, whether it's videos, pictures, maybe copywriting, and you want to make sure that whatever you're putting out is going to engage their audience and is going to make them want to talk more about the product, make them want to buy the product. So always do your research, whether you approach them or they approach you.
That's great, and I hope the value you have given till now, people have already enjoyed in our audience. Because I have, to be honest, I have an audience of more than 41% in US, not and only 30% in India. I don't know why. Maybe because because of English, but I've started doing podcasts in Hindi as well. So what should
Okay.
I do in this case? That's for me. What should I do? Should I keep on doing podcast in Hindi, or should I keep on doing it in English? What do you think? Will be more
So
better.
you said your audience is mostly
It's
US?
from yeah, the percentage of audience who listens to me are from US right now. I don't know why.
Okay. Well, so it sounds like, looking back at your demographic, obviously most of them were English speaking. So it would probably make more sense for you to speak in English and have an English podcast. But that's not to say that speaking in a language in India as well is also not good, because that still touches that audience and you can continue to grow that one too. I know that there are audiences in India that are English speaking, so you can kind of do both by taking your English speaking podcast and marketing it to the people in India that do speak English.
In Indian terms, it's called Hinglish.
Oh,
Hindi
okay.
plus English. It's called Hinglish. And
Oh,
we Indians do speak English a lot.
yeah.
When we normally talk to our friends in our, like metropolitan stations, we do prefer to say English rather than total Hindi or total English. So this is
Yeah.
something that I really got to know. Okay. So, Rachel, the next question that I want to know is that is an important question. You might have answered this question in some way or the other, but there's a reason I'm asking it again for the specific way that I want to know. Okay, so how can someone establish their authority on social media platform through branding? How to establish authority? Like people do know what content to post and what things they can post, but what is the thing that sets them aside? That is what I want to know. What is the thing that sets them aside?
Yeah, I think everybody's good at a lot of things, but when it comes to establishing authority, you need to find your niche, and whatever that might be. Once you find that, that's really what you dedicate your page to, or what you talk about a lot is that one thing. So for me, it's personal branding. So I speak all about personal branding, and even if I talk about like sports or I talk about modeling or the other things that I do, it all relates to personal branding because that is what my brand is. And to establish authority, you need to talk often. You need to come from a place of knowledge, and you need to be able to get that message to your audience. So if you want to establish authority on whatever topic you decide to do, you have to take those steps and make sure what you're putting out is important, engaging, teaching, all of those things. So when it comes to social media, sticking to those ideas and then doing it consistently and constantly, that's really how you establish that authority, because you're engaging with your audience.
Okay, so like establishing authority is really important, and we have to,
Mhm.
like give some content which is really, really valuable for our audience, which connects them into in a way that no one else is connecting, through branding, through stories, through marketing. Because
Right.
I know about Instagram growth as well. I know about all Instagram growth, and I have took courses on that as well. So I do know that connecting people with a story, and then through a feed on every single day basis, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which is the day to give CTA, call to action, which is the day to establish KLT, no like interest. So I do understand all those things, and people, if they really want to know this thing, that you can reach out to Rachel as well. She will let you know how you can do it. Okay, you can take her mentorship as well. Okay, so that is really great. But I want to know this random thing that I want to know right away. That is like, how did you went into acting and modeling and right, yeah, sports modeling, all this stuff? How did you went to, because you are an entrepreneur right now? I don't know much about.
Yeah, I'm a serial entrepreneur, which just means that I do a lot of entrepreneurship. So really, when it came to personal branding, because I work with athletes, I work with influencers. A lot of times, like the content they have to take is in front of the camera, and I'm someone that I feel I want to always speak from experience. Like I want to have done these things first. So even as I was building my career to be an entrepreneur, I made sure I did a job in every single area of business, different industries. So I could always speak from experience because I've done these things. So I went into fitness modeling and recently acting because I wanted my clients to know that when I was telling them, hey, you should turn a certain way, you should take a picture a certain way, you should talk a certain way, that I've done it before. So it's coming from a place of experience and also a place of authority. So I recently signed with prestigious models here in the US, and they started me off a little bit more in my acting career. And then I still do my fitness modeling as well.
Okay, and what about sports?
Yeah, so sports, like I said, I was a student athlete in college here in the US. And then afterwards, and during college, actually, I worked in a lot of different sports areas. So I worked in baseball, I worked in football, I've worked in boxing, I worked in rowing, like I worked for the Olympics. So I just started establishing my authority and my experience there. And that helped me get into all the areas that I've been in.
That's great. We have to establish authority everywhere. Like, this is the real message. We have to establish authority, but we cannot do it without consistency, right?
Right, exactly. And actually, I'm very young too. I'm only 25. So it was really all about, I know I seem like much older. But
No, 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 no.
I,
That's not the case.
but yeah, I really had to, at such a young
That's
age.
my case. I look a bit older than you.
But yeah, I had to spend a lot of time getting all of this experience. So, people that I'm working with, no matter what level, already know that I'm coming from a place of experience. So that's a really important thing as being a young adult as well, is to always try to get more experience, always try to learn something. So when you speak from experience, people are more willing to trust you.
Yeah, that's great. And this is something that really want to know. That is like, in this world of distractions, in this world of total distractions, digital dimension, business things that have been coming in this world for the past 5 to 6 years. Why do you think consistency is really important in personal branding? In this world of digital dementia, why do you think it is so much important?
I think it's really important because there's so much out there that is fake. There is so much out there that, like fake accounts, people like their life is not perfect, but they make it look
Like the
like
fake
it's
guru
perfect,
culture,
fake news, whatever you call it.
like the fake guru culture that is going
Yeah.
on a lot.
Whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Whatever you want to call it. There's just so much that isn't authentic that people really crave authenticity. Like you really crave the real person, especially when we're all like staying home, especially in the US. Even in Dublin, they're at a very strict stay at home order right now. We all crave that human interaction, the authenticity, and things like that. So if you can really be authentic with your brand, if you can present like your real self to people, I think that's really important because we just see a lot of things that are fake, and it's really refreshing and really nice to be able to see a real person and see someone go through the ups and downs, because we all do.
That's great. Any books you want to recommend for personal branding? Any books?
Ooh, for personal branding, I would say one book I actually have read recently from my colleague. His name is Teo Roxon. It's actually right here. It's called Use Your Difference to Make a Difference.
Uh,
Right
like,
here.
he's your friend?
Yeah, yeah, he's my friend. His
Okay.
name is Teo Robson, but it's actually a great book just because he talks a lot about diversity, inclusion. And this book specifically is about using who you are, your authenticity, to build yourself and build your brand as well. So I think that personal branding comes in so many shapes and forms. It comes across so many different industries and everything. You can find advice on how to personal brand from everything. And I think that if you're always willing to learn, you're always going to find it somewhere.
Okay. That's great. And if we were talking about books, should I market myself here, if I can?
Yeah, definitely. The bookshelf's always behind us, I know.
Yeah, yeah. That is the most important. So this is my own book. So this is for self development. It's you who makes the difference. This is for self development. The reason I wrote it was simple. The reason I wrote it was simple because in lockdown I've seen all the people, most of the people, they were suffering from depression. All these things were coming up into the news. When you open the news, it's always COVID-19, COVID-19. It instills fear in our mind. It instills fear in our self, and we always tend to think, yeah, the world's going to change, everything's going to be over. The media language changed everything. And I to be honest, if I'll say it on record, I don't I don't like that stuff, to be honest. The
Mhm.
media language, I don't like it because mostly it creates negativity rather than positivity. It always gives us like a breaking news. What does breaking news means is that, yeah, I got to see it. This is a breaking news. Every news is a breaking news. So like people were suffering from a lot of things. So I thought that in lockdown, I was on top of my business at that time. So I thought that I should write a book about it, how I
Yeah.
overcome those things, how I overcome some fears that I had before the lockdown. The book was launched in August and the 8th, on my sister's birthday, August the 9th. So I launched it because of that. So this only told us about like how we can make a difference even
Right.
when all odds are against us. So it's a small thing, but yeah, I'll launch much more books later because I'm good at copy, so I'll do it, to be honest. Okay.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, we all have a story to tell. We've all gone through an experience that we can share that could help someone else. Like, what you believe, someone else believes too. So I always believe in sharing your thoughts, especially if they're positive, but sharing what you believe in, being authentic with who you are, because there's someone who you could help down the road.
Okay, that's great. And the only reason that people are, like searching things for online, because there's no, most of the things are not available offline right now. That's the reason why they are coming for personal branding. They are doing new and new things. So I want to know one more thing. That is another thing that I want to know. That is like, why do you think copywriting is important right now? Why do you think copywriting is an important skill to have right now in any business? What's your take on that?
I think specifically because marketing right now, everyone is home because of COVID. We're all sitting in front of our computers, our phones, etc. So we are all constantly consuming ads, getting emails, getting spammed, everything. So copywriting is important because if you can do it well, you can hook your audience. You can really get them to look at what you're looking at. And I think that world where we're all being forced to digest so many words, so much content, like I was saying with your personal brand, if you can get someone to resonate with what you're saying, whether it be like a don't read this, or if it's a personal brand saying, hey, I went through something hard and let me tell you about it, I think that sets you apart because that is how you build your audience. And I think that copyright is one way, really the main way that it starts.
Yeah, because everything we read, every business we have, every personal brand we build, there's a copy. You cannot go away
Exactly.
without writing something. That is
Exactly.
I believe that is the most underrated skill, because many people are making a lot of money from it, but people still don't understand why this is so much important. Because you can see the big influencers, they all have copywriters, right? You're also working with some influencers. They must be having
Mhm.
copywriters as well, because they cannot indulge all their time in writing copies, because they have to do their own work for their clients as well, right?
Actually, a lot of influencers in the U.S. are individuals. So, influencers I'm working with right now, they do actually come up with their own copy. That is something that is, specific to each individual. Some people who are putting out massive amount of contents, like very specifically multiple a day, things like that, they will use copywriters. So it just really depends on the person. It also depends on like the athlete, things like that. But everybody over here in the US, like at some point we employ a copywriter.
Yeah, that's great. So I believe that there's always a big need of it.
There
Okay.
always is.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Rachel, for giving us this much valuable stuff in our podcast. One last thing that I want to know, that is, what you have any special message for our Indian audience? Any special message that you want to want to give to us?
Yeah. One company that I mentioned earlier, it's called Oxygen, Oxygean. We did just launch an app. It's in the App Store and Google Play. It's actually a platform where you can share videos and like videos about your life skills, videos about your professional skills, things like that. I actually have a whole series on there where I talk about personal branding. I talk about motivation, career, social media, things like that. And there's so many other people on there. So I know TikTok isn't available in India right now, and this is another short form video content type. And it's really a motivational type video. And I think that's really awesome to have. And then secondly, that's not about an app. Um, I think, when you're in a country with so you have to differentiate yourself, really, because everyone over there is consuming social media. So whatever your specific niche might be or your story, just always be really authentic to it and make sure that that's what you're focusing on and that's what you're putting forward.
Okay, so you have told us about your app. Like, can you like, I'll also mention in the description as well about the app. So can you tell us a bit more, like who launched this app and anything like that?
Yeah, so the company is actually called Oxygen, again, Oxygean. It's a company where the app is actually the first step, where we are members are coming onto the platform. They're creating their own videos, they're consuming videos, and there's actually a quiz on there that tells you what your skills are, tells you what your soft skills are. So it told me my leadership style is direct, which is accurate. And it told me other things like about my attitude, my determination, and things like that. And with that data, it's actually awesome because they can show you videos that will help those skills. So, like, if my leadership style is direct, they're going to show me a video from another creator who also has a direct leadership style. And that's going to teach me how to cater my message and things like that.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Okay, so thank you so much, Rachel, for coming to our podcast, and thank you so much, everyone, for listening to this podcast who have been, in our podcast till now. Okay, and the main thing is that out of this podcast, the main reason we had this podcast was to give so much value to the people that we are giving the podcast to. That's the reason we are uploading this podcast, that we want to give people about the value that in 2021, leveraging your personal brand, leveraging your business, leveraging monetizing everything that you have online is really really important, because by the end of 2030, what I believe is that AI will come over. So we have to stay ahead of the curve, we have to stay ahead with our strategies, with our business and everything, right? Okay, so thank you so much, Rachel, for coming,
Yeah,
and thank you so much, everyone, for being on the podcast. Okay, thank you so much for your time.
thank you.